Hey folks, welcome back to another video. Now, unfortunately, I am not going to be able to attend the Milwaukee Regionals this season, but if I were, these are the top 5 decks that I would be strongly considering between. And I'm going to start off right away by cheating and breaking my own rules because I'm going to give the number 5 slot to 3 different decks just because I was having too much trouble deciding between all of them and I didn't quite have enough room for top 5. And top 7 just doesn't quite sound as nice. So let's just start in with these 3 decks that I think all have strong contention for my 5th place slot. Okay, first for sharing this 5th place slot, we have Ledge EX, specifically with the new cards it's gained through the Soul Rock and Lunatone, allowing it to run a lot of fighting energies, giving it a consistent draw support and a consistent way to discard energies. The downside to this deck may be its very linear playstyle, as well as its ability to brick itself a little more easily than other decks due to its high energy count. So you will be able to rip through, take some pretty strong games, and hit some pretty big damaging numbers, but you might fall short if you play against someone who really knows how to pick apart the deck, or against just your own draw power, your own shuffling, your own randomization. Sometimes you just Carmine into 5 energies and then there's not much you can do about it after that. But it is still, I think, going to be a strong showing for the Milwaukee Regionals, and I would expect it to have a bit of a presence in day 2. I don't know how much farther it will go than that, but I do expect to see some Ledges making day 2 at Milwaukee. Now, the next deck to share the 5th place slot is going to be Marnie's Grimmsnarl. It didn't see too much new in the mega set, but it did gain Lily's Determination, which is actually kind of a huge buff to the deck. It allows you to rip through, see more cards without discarding key resources or worrying about any of that. I don't know how much its meta placement has changed. It was struggling a little bit in the last format, and I don't know if Lily's is going to be what gives it the boost that it needs to start seeing some top finishes, but I think nonetheless, Grimmsnarl players are going to be doing well with the new Lily's card, and they will just find their place in the meta and in this Milwaukee Regional regardless. So I think it's still a solid play if you've been playing Grimmsnarl for a long time and you were disappointed by its drop-off in the last format. I think you'll be fine continuing to play it. I don't think you need to jump ship just yet, but if you have not picked up the deck by this point, I would not recommend grinding it out going into Milwaukee. There are stronger, easier choices to learn if you are just new to the Snarl. And for my last choice to share the 5th place slot, we're coming at you with N's Zoroark EX, which did just finish the Pittsburgh Regional in 1st place, had an amazing showing into all of the Gardevoir players there, and I would expect to see a lot more Gardevoir coming into Milwaukee, so I would expect to see Zoroark doing quite well going into that too. It doesn't struggle too hard into any of the new mega decks. It has a tougher time into like Mega Lucario, but because of Gardevoir, I don't see Mega Lucario seeing that much play in Milwaukee, so I think you're cool to keep running Zoroark. It still has a good game plan into Golden Go, which I expect to see a good bit of Golden Go going into Milwaukee. So I think your Zoroark matchup plan will be actually just fine. It's just going to be a solid deck to run. Be interesting to see if it can make another take another major win, or where it ends up in the Milwaukee Regional. This is one that I'm very excited to kind of keep my eye on. Okay, coming at you with number 4, we have Charizard, Pidgeot, Dusknoir with the secret box, and a couple Jet Energies, a Clef Key, a few tricks and trades here and there to give it a pretty wide matchup spread. It honestly does very well into a lot of the meta. It does good into Gardevoir. It's great into, has a good solid game plan into Golden Go with using the Chi-Yu early and then Charizard to finish up. And it does pretty decent into the rest of the meta. The only thing that's being strongly gatekept by right now is Dragapult. So you kind of have to do a little bit of a gut check and decide if you want to have really strong pairing into a lot of the meta and then just have a tougher time into Dragapult. How much Dragapult do you think you're really going to run into? Do you think you can come up with a solid enough game plan to at least take a couple of those Dragapults down? That's going to kind of be your deciding point, whether or not you choose Charizard and bring it to this tournament. I think either way, you won't really be disappointed. It is going to be a solid deck, and I expect to see it take a couple of top spots. And speaking of Dragapult Dusknoir coming at you with this deck in our number 3 spot. I know a lot of people are feeling a little down on the Pult right now. He's lost some power going in. The Gardevoir matchup continues to actually get worse somehow. So things are feeling a little shaky for the Pult, but it's still Dragapult. You're still doing Phantom Dive. It's still one of the strongest attacks in the games with one of the best draw engines in the game. This deck is going to continue to be ridiculous. I'm sorry for all you Pult haters out there. I don't think it's dead just yet. Psyduck certainly does not bury this deck. It is going to help out certain rogue archetypes, but it's definitely not going to be a nail in the coffin for Dragapult. I expect this deck to do quite well. I don't think you're going to take down a tournament with this deck. Second place is seeming like the best it can hope for, but hey, I mean, I wouldn't be mad with a second place finish. So let's be real here. And I think that's just where it's going to be right now. But we got the Dragapult with the Dusknoir. Nothing's really changed. We got the 4 copies of Lilies going now. I do strongly think that Rare Candy is going to be kind of the move going into this tournament. I could be crazy, but it does feel very, very good. It feels like it gives you a much better shot into Gardevoir. There are, of course, matchups where it just doesn't need to be there at all, including the mirror. But let's be real, that's how every deck goes. There are cards that just don't come up in every single situation. I am a strong believer in the Rare Candy. Of course, make your decision for yourself, but that's where I'm at with this deck. I still think it's going to be really high meta percentage. I think it's going to do really well in the tournament. Just don't think it's going to get that first place finish that people are looking for. Similar to Ceruledge, Golden Go got a lot of buffs with the meta cards coming in the form of the Lunatone and Soul Rock package, giving it not only a decent draw engine, but a way to get cards into the discard pile early so that Superior Energy Retrieval becomes more effective earlier into the game, but also giving it another 1 prize attacker with Cosmic Beam doing 70. It just is kind of a very solid boost to the deck that allows you to do things like run Precious Trolley instead as your A-Spec, which frees up all the room from Buddy Buddy Poffin, which just lets you add some more tech cards in, depending on what you're expecting to see more of going into the Milwaukee Regional. This list that I've got here is just kind of like a general list. I've seen a lot of interesting tech cards going into this deck, though, like Hops Cramorant, to help you kind of continue that 1 prize attacker into the mid game. There's just some interesting stuff that I've seen people doing. So maybe, this one you're going to have to do a bit of a gut check, do a bit of a meta call for yourself as far as what tech cards you want to include. But I think this is a pretty solid base to jump off from. Now, before we jump into the number 1 deck, which I don't think I'm keeping anyone in suspense as to what that is, I just wanted to share some thoughts. If this is one of your first regionals that you're going to, I think that you are better off playing a deck that you are very, very comfortable with versus trying to suddenly pick up one of these top meta decks last minute going into the tournament. Of course, that depends. If the deck that you're really, really comfortable with is Wugtrio Mill, then maybe you want to take a look at Ceruledge or something very simple to quickly learn going into the tournament. But if you're concerned, if your deck isn't listed here and you want to chat about it, reach out to me down in the comments. I would love to kind of go over what you're feeling. We can look at your deck list together and just kind of talk through some things. I don't mind doing that. I'd love to interact with you down there. But let's, without further ado, jump into number 1 pick. And to no one's surprise, we have Gardevoir coming at you with the number 1 slot. Specifically, I think the Jellicent version of the deck is going to do quite well going into Milwaukee. Now, of course, I am no Henry Chow. It's kind of up to him, which is going to be the best Gardevoir deck going into the tournament. But I think that you are going to be pretty safe picking the Jellicent version. We've got actually some pretty solid buffs with the new Gardevoir with the new routes. It gives you Collect Call to draw a card. We've got the 100 HP Curlias, which are just ridiculous. I don't know why that needed to happen. Mystery Garden's okay. It gives you a chance to discard Psychic Energy, which is honestly more powerful than the draw support it gives you. But because we're able to discard Psychic Energy that way, we can run 2 Lily's Determination instead of 4 Research. So that feels pretty good going into the deck too. Be really interesting to see what exactly Chow and his team's take are on Gardevoir going into Milwaukee Regionals. I don't expect to see Mega Gardevoir come out of them. That would be actually a huge shock, but we'll see. Gardevoir and I have never gotten along very well, which you can, if you're interested in watching me suffer my way through Gardevoir, I've got a video coming up. It either was posted or will be posted in the next couple days of me struggling with this deck. If you like to laugh at other people's misery, I would highly suggest checking that one out. But this is going to do it for my list going into Milwaukee. These are the decks that I would be strongly considering myself, decks that I think will do quite well. You probably won't regret picking any of these 7 decks. I think all of them will give you a very solid chance in the tournament, and I expect to see all 7 of them do quite well. But again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, post it down in the comments below. Love chatting with you guys down there. We'll catch y'all in the next one.